Hi, I'm going to talk a little bit about, I'm going to start to talk some about the minor arcana cards. I'm not going to go through the minor arcana cards the same way that I went through the major cards. The major arcana cards I went through like the hero's journey, the hero's path, which is the right way to look at them. They are the major cards. They show states of mind, states of being. They show uh, positions on the path in the greater sense of who you are and what you're doing in your life. If you have a reading, for example, in which many major cards come up, it shows a huge time, a transitional time, a time when a lot of the major issues in your life are coming up. If, on the other hand, you have a reading with a lot of minor arcana cards coming up, that shows, if they're all minor arcana cards, it's pretty much only about the events that are going on, and it points to the fact that you may be missing the bigger picture, like what's the context under which all of this is happening. But in most readings, there'll be a balance. There'll be some of the major cards that show the kind of major issues coming up for you right now, and there'll be minor cards which point to primarily the events, the kinds of things that are happening. The court cards are another case, and they point to people. They can be other people in your life. They can be yourself or parts of yourself or all of the above. There are 4 minor arcana suits, and here from one of my decks I will show those 4. And again, remember they're showing backwards. The first one is usually considered the wands, which represents fire. Then the cups, which represents water. And so fire would also be activity, passion, drive. Water would be emotion, creativity. These are 2 different types of creativity, of course. This would be like the kind of, fiery inspiration, and this would be more the creative flow. And obviously each element has its own type of creativity. Swords represents air, which would be thought primarily, but also swords, of course, represent strife and the troublesome issues that come up, which of course are all in the mind, which is why thought is appropriate. And then pentacles or coins represents earth. These 2, of course, have their own creative aspect. There's a lot of mental planning ability that goes into a successful creative venture or product of any kind, and nothing is anything unless you make it solid, unless it comes back down to earth. So each of these cards, represents elements or qualities that are significant and important in life. It's good to know a little bit of astrology because there's a lot of correlation between the 2 in terms of those 4 elements also being the elements that are, part of the division of signs, astrological signs. So there's 10 cards in every suit and 4 court cards. If you really truly want to understand the meaning of the cards, it's good to understand something about the Kabbalah or however it's the Jewish mystical tradition that focuses on the tree of life, which have 7 points or sephirot, and those are said by the the people around the turn of the century who were most active in defining our understanding of the esoteric meaning of the tarot. These were said to determine the meaning of each number, and how each number plays out, what it means in each suit, has to do with both how the suit moves through from its initiating force into as it develops from its initiating force into its fullest expression at the 10. So, for example, something like fire is that is the kind of force that in its fullest, fire, it could become a conflagration at 10. But since this also represents kind of energy, that gets a little bit harder as it moves through. That's definitely one of those things that is considered to be again, it's activating or initiating. So an activating, initiating force can kind of become not so well expressed as it gets into the larger numbers. Therefore, the 10 of wands is often shows a card. When there are pictures of it, it often shows a man with a heavy burden on his back. Generally speaking, I'll go through the general sense of what each number means, and then I'll go through how that plays out in each of the cards. But it's important to remember that these play out in terms of actions or activities or events that are happening in your life. So if you get any of the aces, any of the first card, it shows something new and positive that's coming into your life. If the card is reversed, either it's having a difficult birth, or it's not quite coming, or you might be trying to force it, but some element of difficulty with something new happening. Maybe it was nipped in the bud, maybe it's just not time yet, and I said maybe it's a difficult birth. The aces are beginning, the ones are beginning. The twos usually show the development of that beginning into two possibilities. And then three is the first kind of form. So that shows the first form that this energy takes. Threes are generally positive. Fours show stabilization. Fives are generally the conflictive number. Six is kind of considered the pinnacle or peak in the sense of it's the best, it's the most balanced, it's the central, but just just a little bit above center, so that it's the six is in most of the cards, that's like the most successful, the most balanced, the happiest expression of the card. Sevens are considered a mysterious number. So their meaning often has something to do with mystery, with something hidden. And it can sometimes also there be some of the same problematic issues that can come with a five, but it's more about something hidden, which has its pluses and minuses. Eights are like the doubling of the stabilizing energy, so they can be more stable. They bring, but they can also bring like a different stable. In the case of the wands, it brings, a sort of surprising element in, like something that, another stability that disrupts the stability that had already been planned. Nines are again considered a positive card. They're close most of the time. They're as the card is almost at its fullest expression. And as I said, the 10 is considered the fullest expression. In some of the cards, this is a good thing, and in some of the cards, it is not such a good thing. And I'll go into more of the specifics of both what the cards mean and what the different numbers mean, and I'll go through each of the suits. As you think about the suits, though, it's good to think about the element. As I said in the astrology videos, Earth, for example, think of the kinds of words that you use for Earth. You can talk about things being grounded or muddy, stuck in the mud. You can talk about somebody being earthy or sensual or down to earth. With fire, again, you can talk about being fiery or inspired or brilliant. With air, you think of blowing all over. You can think of piercing. You can think of rushed. And swords, of course, are pointed anyhow, which again, one can think of a pointed intellect. And with water, you think of flowing, or you can also think of bogged down. But you could think of, sort of the musical quality of water flowing over rocks. Once again, you can think of water and earth as muddy, or you can think of it as bringing about growth. All of these qualities come into play. All of these words are useful words to bear in mind when thinking about the meaning of a card. All right, talk to you later.